Mm. Ooh, black soul, black coffee. Yeah. This is COFOH Live Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crosier, and I'm joined by the amazing Charles Edward of Seraphim Shock. Oh, man! Something on my face. Charles, how are you?
How's it going, buddy? How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself. Yeah, where you come from and how you got into music.
Well, okay, let's see where I come from, which is always kind of a funny conversation because people naturally, a lot of people have always assumed I'm from Denver,
Right.
which I'm not. Actually, Colorado was the 5th state that I moved to, and Denver was like the 7th city. I'm from Atlanta originally. You know, my dad played for the Georgia Bulldogs back in the late 50s. You know, dad's 91, so I mean, we're talking 1956, 57.
Oh, wow.
A lot of family history here. So I think when I moved back to Georgia, I think a lot of people are like, what? Like they don't, you know, they don't understand my family history and everything. So, yeah. And, you know, back in the late 60s, early 70s, if you had a corporate boom, you know, and you had opportunities, you moved. It wasn't like it is today. We have all this magic and we can kind of, you know, be wherever we want to be. But yeah, and so we went from Atlanta to Wisconsin to the OC in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
All the way across country to Boston. Okay. And from Boston to Denver. So Denver was actually, you know, like I said, most people, you know, they know Sarah from when I was in the early years.
Yeah,
Denver days. Before I had moved to Los Angeles. Yeah. And, you know, obviously great shows and many, many years with a lot of great people in Denver. So, yeah, that's, but yeah, kind of, you know, I've lived all over the place.
That's cool. What was it that you know, kind of drew you to music? Did you grow up around it? Was it just something that was always prevalent, or did you come across it kind of happenstance?
Well, you know, I had 3 older siblings. I have an older brother who's about 8, 9 years older than me. There's 16 years between the 5 kids.
Oh, wow.
Next to youngest. Yeah. And you know, I kind of, you know, I was listening to what my brother, you know, just kind of that natural, like looking at my big brother, and he was very much like a surfer rebel kind of dude. Of course, this is back in the 70s.
Right.
So yeah, so you know, I grew up listening to in my really young years to the Beatles and the Who and Led Zeppelin and the Stones, and he was very much a rock kind of guy. He was like, fuck disco, and like so, you know, I mean, he was a surfer, like he was a surfer skater dude. Nice. So yeah, and I just, you know, like when I was really young, I wanted to sing. I could, you know, I just sang. I had no idea that my life would turn into what it became, obviously. I was actually more of an athlete. My dad, you know, having played at Georgia, you know, and so I grew up with that was pretty much my whole life. And then which led to you know, pretty serious run where I was being looked at by Division I schools.
Ooh, nice.
To play, and you know, and then my life obviously took a really different twist. It went
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I was just naturally drawn to it, man. I
Okay.
mean, like any kid listening to the rock records in their
Yeah.
room, and they hear the radio and stuff, and you know, back I think in the mid and late 70s, rock stars were just, they were so huge because there weren't that many. Music wasn't what it is today. I mean, there's, you know, just billions of bands, and
Yep.
you know, you and I could start a project tomorrow.
Right.
And,
Wouldn't matter.
you know,
Online.
here's some, yeah, hey, let's do some tracks together and work on this other project. And it, you know, obviously it wasn't like that back then. Big bands were like, you know, they were epic, huge. A rock star was really a rock star.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that moved me as a child. I was very enamored, and like, I mean, you know, Kiss was just like bigger than life. I mean, their shows were just like, holy shit. Like, you know, like just epic shows.
Yep.
And then the 80s hit. You know, I was 12 years old in 1981, and just so much of that, just an explosion of music and videos and everything. So yeah, I just got caught up.
Nice.
Caught up. But I got into music late, though.
Yeah.
I did, because I'm not that guy. I was not in bands in high school.
Okay.
I, you know, really, I wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just knew somewhere that, like, hey, I want to, you know, I know I can do this. And, but, you know, my first show, geez, I was 25 years old before I ever performed. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was, you know, I really encourage people, because I was not that guy because of my athletic career. I was the last dude that you would have looked at in the early teen years and say, that guy,
right?
He's going to sing for this crazy satanic rock band. Like, I was not that guy. Like, people are like, no way. Like, what?
That's so unexpected, you know, because on stage you've got this, dark Halloween charisma, right? And to hear that your background was more sports related, it's fantastic, because even the athletes, they want to be the rock gods. Everybody wants to be the musicians, right? Admired for that. It's pretty interesting to listen to that. So that's pretty cool that you came from from one area, complete left turn into something as exciting as that.
Yeah, and punk had a lot to do with that. Not so much in influencing me musically.
Okay.
You can listen to Seraphim songs. Like, if you took my voice away, you can hear there are songs that are definitely, that's a 3-chord punk rock song.
Yeah.
But just the whole subculture, you got to remember that in 1985, even though punk had been around for a good decade, it had not been commercialized.
No. Right.
Metal had been, metal was huge all over MTV, and people knew who punk rockers were. You had the girl in school with the crazy mohawk or something like that. It's like, but it was not, it's not today. It's just like, yeah. It's we don't even think about it.
Right.
But before Van's Warped Tour, started hitting in the mid 90s, and where it became a money thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, mid 80s, man, people were like, what the hell, dude? People used to throw beer bottles out their trucks at me.
Oh God.
It's true.
Oh,
that's not a sad song. It's just a part of life experience.
Yeah.
Like, people were definitely like, they were like, what the fuck are you, who are you? Like,
yeah,
you're walking down the street and you got white clown shit on your face, and your hair sticking up,
I'm sorry,
and stuff, and people were like, they weren't too cool about it.
That's pretty intense. So with punk being this motivator and everything, and then you doing your first show at 25, what was that experience like? Can you recall what what it was like to do that first show, and like some of the pitfalls along the way to kind of craft it to what it is today? I mean, I know that's a big question.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of parts to that.
Yes.
I think, just being totally real, I was terrified.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it so bad. I wanted to sing and I wanted to be a performer, and I wanted to be up there in the limelight and everything that goes with it. But the first several years that Seraphim was around, I was very tortured on stage.
Yeah.
If I looked confident,
Yeah.
and I mean, we were ready. We sounded pretty good. We were a very cultivated band. We were ready when we came out. We were not, right off the bat. We had put the work in, but inwardly as a front man, yeah, man. I mean, I remember if I went off and missed a note, I was just crushed inside. And struggled a bit, I think, off stage too, speaking with people. Okay. So in the very early years, I think I probably came off as kind of aloof. But people can't see what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
So that just took time.
Yeah.
And it did take time. Our first record, we put out a 3-song cassette in the summer of '94, which a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
We recorded 4 songs, released 3.
Nice.
Started doing live shows. And then, we released Red Silk Vow in November of '97. Mm-hmm. So by the time Red Silk Vow came out, I had a good 3.5 years of just maturing.
Nice.
And, we started touring nationally in '98 in the spring. And then we toured a lot. 98, 99, we were on the road for a total of 5 months. So just by proxy of repetition.
Yeah.
You keep doing something, you're going to get, even if you're not exceptional, you're going to get pretty good, just because, it's no different than the guy that shot 500 free throws.
Right.
Or anything else in life.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not all going to be Jimi Hendrix, but if you keep at something and you believe in it and you have a passion for it, and you just keep doing it. And I think that's what happened with Seraphim.
Yeah. You're going to
larger productions. You have to understand that there was quite a bit of time for me to mature as a performer. So for me, it's always interesting because people are like, oh yeah, you were so the show was big and all this stuff, and they don't see all the internal conversation when I first started playing shows. I was actually very shy inside, despite maybe how I looked, Yeah. So yeah.
Well, like you said, it takes time to kind of bring that out in you and kind of hone not only the stage presence but the off stage presence, right? Mm-hmm. To make those connections and everything. And we do have a few folks kind of chiming in saying hi. So Gene just stopped in, little smiley face emoji.
Bunny DJ, yeah. Hey, Gene.
Terry.
Yeah. All right, DJ Celebrity, DJ Gene. Yeah. Okay.
But that's the beautiful thing. We you and I were talking before we went live on how it's that music and everything that really makes those connections. That can be that conduit, and really. I think thinking on that too. I mean, I think that's what makes it all worthwhile. To what you were saying. Making those relationships and those friendships, and also growing the community.
For sure. And I can say that too. It's easy for me to say that at this point because first record just turned 25. I've been performing for 28 years, so that's a lot of history. But
congratulations on all of that.
People, you get to thank you. But you just, you get to know and people and all the tours that we did and shows that we kept doing and just over the years, and you develop these relationships with people, and that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
It's off stage stuff.
Yeah.
I have shows that I perform and I'm like, I mean, don't get me, I'm aware, but show will go by and it's like a blur.
Right.
In your own mind, and you're in this whole surreal setting and stuff that's not, it's this big production, and then you get off stage, and so it's the first couple shows back, the Atlanta show, the Denver show, it was just great to connect with people, taking pictures. I wish that we had some of the things that we have now back then. Right. And we're going to be doing a lot. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of opportunity to do that now, but I wish that we were able to capture some of that back in the day.
Right.
Our little Kodak cameras.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, those. I think you could take and some of them was like a roll of 12 all together.
Oh God, and going and getting them developed and yeah,
it was so tedious. And then now you got this little thing,
Oh, now these spaceships.
Yeah.
Seriously, halfway across the world and shoot you a message like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna be on Tuesday. Let's like I was saying, you and I could start a side project tomorrow night, and I could be living in Korea, and we could still do it just fine."
Oh yeah. I think with us, it might be a little gross because it probably have to involve a lot of spraying fake blood and stuff. Yeah, he's not eye opening.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's pretty much how it goes. Somebody's gonna get electrocuted. It's probably gonna be me. But yeah, that's the fun of it. And with your stage performance too, it's gloriously over the top. It's wonderfully moody, but you've got all these dancers and everything. You've got the occasional MC in somebody like Sid Pink, when you're doing the local show, and it's absolutely wonderful and so fun.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I've had it also, I've had some great people over the years. I've had some great teams of people. Because those shows are some of the, the markets which, as a performer, you have markets that you're very strong in, and you have, smaller markets, mid-sized markets, larger markets. And we have A markets in each region that are larger productions. Yeah. And some of those shows, I mean, I've had, at this point, probably 4 generations of stage performers.
Oh,
great. Choreographers, professional dancers, just people who are just fantastic, great costuming, people who have just contributed and put their own spin into what Seraphim Shock does as a part of a team. And the MC, Jason Sid Pink, he and I've been friends for 30 years. And he's done some shows out of state with me as well, out of state, and but yeah, it's great. Which was intentional. Sid was always an intentional thing, and it always made me laugh back in the day when I'd have these kids that got mad, who the fuck is this guy? Was he talking about us? And I was like, these actually take it seriously. The joke, right?
Yeah.
So there's there's the campiness to it too. So there's the serious side of it, which is a longer conversation, and then there's the you have the campiness of the horror to some too.
Right. That's
to it.
Yeah, that's the fun of it. Bringing both sides together, and making sure you don't take yourself seriously, but kind of letting the audience in a little bit on the joke, so to speak. And with horror, I mean, it's fun anyway. No matter what, it's such a delightful kind of entry plateau to just access music and art in general, and kind of share that human experience. So why not go over the top?
Mm.
You
And I
know,
was really influenced by shows or, other artists that were, like I said, and not specifically with what they did, but how big the show was.
right, right.
No, I mean, Kiss was
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. I mean, I know now they're 253 years old and they're walking around up there, and it's kind of funny. But
Yeah,
back in the 70s, man, that when you were a little kid and you saw Gene Simmons like blowing fire and spitting blood all over his chest plate thing, and I mean, you were like, oh my God, that's like, I mean,
yep.
it was godlike. And
Oh yeah,
those
yeah.
stage productions, regardless of the genre too. I'm a big music fan, so I'm into a lot of different styles of music.
Yeah,
Just like good songwriting is really my thing. And there's great showmanship in every genre.
yeah.
It's
But
out there.
most definitely. I still gravitate towards like Guar. That's
And
been
so Guar played the same week we played in Denver.
yeah.
From what I
Yes.
understand, they played the Oriental too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we were only a few days apart. So
Man,
there was still blood on. We use blood on the stage too, but not like War. They're a whole other level.
oh, I know. I saw that show, so I'm too old to get down with the rest of the people and get sloshed. So I'm up on the balcony over there, just like looking down. It's like, oh God.
There was still, that's so funny because there was blood in the green room.
I can believe it. Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what night they played, but it was only, we were only a couple days apart from one another.
Right.
And
Right.
there was still blood on the stage, and so I was, well, we're bringing our blood tonight with our nuns, so
Yep. Yep. Well, and
clean up.
to see your stage production there too, like there's so many people and so many moving parts, going into that. Is that something you have to sit there and direct as well, and kind of plan everything out, or is it more intuitive?
Back in the day, I would have said yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was extremely hands-on. I mean, we would have rehearsals. I would go through you have to do this at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is going to be set off. We had a pyrotechnics guy, buddy that used to work with us way back before the White Lion, or not, sorry, Great White Tragedy with the fire.
Right.
Obviously changed all the codes. Fire codes. So we used to do some crazy shit on stage, and so back then, today, I have a great group of people that have been with me for quite a while. Girl that does the costuming, and they're all very, they're very close. And also as I've gotten, more experienced, and I let people do what they're really good at.
Yeah.
I try not to micromanage so much. There's obviously a feel with Seraphim Shock, regardless of the song that's more punk or more goth or more metal or more industrial or the piano ballad. But there's still kind of a vibe there. And I know that my people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We flew in to do the Denver show a couple of weeks ago. We had one night with all four of us, as far as just my live guys, because we don't all live in the same states and cities.
Yeah.
And the three girls that were doing stage performance, they got together and handled it and went out there, and some of it's improv.
Cool.
Yeah. Which I think it's important if you see someone who's really good at what they do, let them do what they're really good at.
Very nice. Yeah. You might get some interesting, bebop that happens in the moment too.
Right. Sometimes the best stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that wasn't planned.
Yes, very much so.
Also, my team and I have done X amount of shows together too. So there's not if I had a whole new team of stage performers, obviously we would have to sit down. But there's also a precedent set for okay, we've done these specific routines and that kind of thing. So there's already a core there that, it's nice.
That's cool.
I used to go crazy, man. I used to like,
Yeah.
day. I probably drove my people crazy too. I love you guys wherever you are. Like, where I was just like, I would get so intense in rehearsals, and I would be like, no, on the 4 count, when this thing breaks, you guys have to do this, and the lights have to go up, and like, so yeah.
Right. Right.
I don't have to do that.
No, I totally understand. Back in the early 2000s, I had a performance group where we got dressed up in latex monster outfits, hooked up with fake blood, had choreographed, fighting on stage, and then had a band that, with a metal band with taiko drummers, and then airless drop out of the sky. And of course, I had to direct all that stuff too. And I'm just like, oh my God, I am going to kill myself. So yeah, I can totally understand. And my hat's off to you for doing this for 25 years.
Woo.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think you pull it off, so much better than, some of these younger guys, that, that are, doing the rock and roll thing. And I've seen you on stage. You're just like, the Gene Simmons guys. Those guys are action figures. It's like, yeah, you're this action figure too. Just, having fun and kicking ass.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I feel good. I feel good. I'm very, I guess you say I rejuvenated too. I went through a long legal stalemate with former label investor. A lot of people thought that I had quit. I had to stay quiet about a lot of things.
Okay.
At the end of 2019, so there was a 7-year gap between releases, between singles. 10 years between albums, if you want to add that all up. It's complicated. Don't need to get into the whole thing, but at the end of 2019, end of 2018, I regained all of the publishing to the entire Seraphim Shock catalog.
Oh, good.
And this was between me and a former investor / label.
Yeah.
So that was why I think a lot of people, they thought maybe I had walked away, and I had to kind of play it a certain way too.
Yeah.
And all of that, but there was a lot to it. So point being is that I also am not somebody who was burned out. We went away at a time where our ticket sales were not down. They were doing very well. So we didn't go through that period of time where every band kind of cools off.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Right.
It's hard. There's so many things going on. So it's great. It's just great to be back.
Yeah.
I'm not burned out. I'll be 54 in March, and I'm ready to breathe fire. I'm ready to be back, and a lot of music coming. Because there was a lot of music that I wrote. I never stopped writing. When I stopped releasing, I never stopped writing. So I have a massive catalog of music that hasn't been released yet.
Nice. We can't wait to hear new Seraphim Shock. Is there like a new album or in the works?
Yeah, we put a new EP out on Halloween 2020, and it's funny because a lot of people are just finding that out.
Yeah.
The COVID thing happened, and of course, so we weren't out playing shows, and people's lives were so turned upside down by that, which is, of course, a very long conversation in of itself. That the new EP, which is a series of 3 EPs, the Fairmount Chronicles, there's a chapter 1, 2, and 3. So chapter 1 came out on Halloween 2020. I've released a couple of singles since then that I'm just leaving as singles. They're not going to be a part of those EPs.
Yeah.
So we got another EP, another 6-song coming in 2023, and then another one. And then we'll see after that. I mean, there's material beyond that. I don't want to get way ahead of myself because it's a lot of work, but yeah, just a lot of music coming, man. And I'm free. you know, and what I'm doing too isn't based upon, you know, I'm not a part of the industry. I don't give a fucking shit about the industry, man.
Okay.
I don't care about any of that hoopla. So, as a songwriter, I'm in a really good place because I own my music. And the reality is most people my age don't own their music.
Right.
You know, a lot of people think, oh, well, so-and-so got old, so they stopped.
Yeah.
And the reality is that's not why they stopped. Their record label owns publishing to their music.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of dead in the water. Once that label kind of starts to cool off or no longer puts money into them, they're in a really bad place.
Yeah, no, I've heard that a lot. Like, you know, that was something famous, you know, with Prince, and you know why he had to, you know, kind of retool and go under the moniker of the artist formerly known, right?
Right. I mean, he was the first guy that really stood up and was like, hell no.
Yeah.
I love that dude. He was a monster. I know some people like, you know, because they see me with Seraphim Shock, you know, and I'm like, yeah, but I listen to a lot of different types of music. And that guy, he was the first one that was like, nope, not going to take it. I'm the formerly known as Prince, and I'm going to go out and do my own shit without you. And it was a real groundbreaker. So,
yeah. It certainly, you know, brought a lot of attention to that. I mean, what, you know, artists have to go through, and realizing that it's like, yeah, just because you record your music and your name's on it, depending on your contract agreement with the record label and distribution,
right?
You might not own your own tapes. You might not own your own tracks.
Right. Yeah. Even after it's all like years and years.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, a decade, 2 decades later, and the label's like, nope, not getting back. We're going to make our $50 at a time if that's what it takes. So I do, you know, I'm fortunate in that sense, and I just feel very free going forward because I'm doing what I want as a songwriter.
Right.
Period. And the rest of it's all frosting. So, you know, I get to do shows, and, you know, I just feel for me, there's a sense of gratitude about the whole thing because, like, the fact that people even give a shit about what I'm doing after 25 years,
we do,
is like cool, you know. So it's all good.
Good.
All good.
Yeah. Yeah. That I think that's something that's incredibly endearing too about you. You know, creating those relationships. You know, coming out with new material, still doing the shows. I think that's something that's, you know, certainly, you know, folks admire, you know, about you. I certainly do. And I think the other thing too, for doing what you're doing for as long as you have, the fact that you have that, you know, you're an athlete too, you know, working out, you know, taking care of yourself. I mean, again, it's a young man's game, but you're pulling it off better than people half that age.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. You know,
I'll do it as long as I feel like I'm at the top. Okay. You know, I promised myself that, like, if I get to a point that I don't feel like I can be that person on stage anymore, then I won't do it.
Yeah.
You'll probably be writing music, and I'll probably be scaring kids on my porch when I'm like, you know, 75 years old with a guitar in my hand, and that, you know, when you were a little kid and that, like, that house that everybody thought was haunted. Yes. And there's always somebody's house on the block that there's a story about, and, like, you know, those little kids they drive by on their bikes and shit, you know, like, because, like, so that'll probably be me and Terry will probably be sitting out there, and people are like, oh my God, that guy, I know there's crazy shit that goes on in that house.
Well, all you got to do is charge $5 at the door, and you got your own home haunt.
Right.
you and Dick Van Dyke.
But I put a lot of work, you know, to that conversation. There's a lot of work, you know. I put my time in, really, you know, serious about my nutrition and my training is a big deal, and I expect it from myself.
Mhm.
That's a personal thing. I don't do it because I think that people are going to think this or that about me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely wired like an athlete, I think, from being like all the way, since I was 5 years old,
Right.
and being a part of that world. So, I grind in the gym, and, I want to look like that anime villain,
Yeah.
walk out. That's what I want to do.
That's true. I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh yeah, the hair.
Yeah. And the straighteners and the freeze spray.
I remember you from Dragon Ball Z.
Right. So that's, as long as I can be that guy and feel good about it and know that we're giving people a great show, then, I'm always going to be here.
Yeah.
And if there's 50 people or 500 or 5,000, it's just, again, it's about the connection.
Yeah, most definitely. Kind of switching gears here a little bit. You yourself as a fan, I mean, you incorporate horror and Halloween into so much of what Seraphim Shock is.
Mhm.
What are your some of your inspirations from that genre? Whether it's film or books or even music.
Well, I think inspirations, like, why when I was a child, why was I drawn to all the Lon Chaney films? Like,
Nice.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I was going to the library when I was in 4th grade and checking out these books. Why, I would stay up on Friday nights and watch the old Wolfman and the Dracula, and the Wolfman meets Frankenstein movies, like the old classics. Just awesome.
Yeah.
And why? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We could do a serious psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
Why was I like that as a kid? And it started there. And I was just always drawn to that, those darker things. And then there were, different styles. Initially metal, like Dio.
Yes.
Ozzy's early work as a solo artist, Diary of a Madman and Bark at the Moon and those releases, even some of Wasp's early stuff.
Oh, right.
That was, really vicious and in your face.
Good old Blackie.
Yeah. So right.
Nice.
So got into that when I was, really young. I mean, I'm talking like 12, 13 years old. And I was introduced to the whole, like, what a lot of people now call gothic, but like death rock, which was a, basically just an offshoot of punk. I remember watching Return of the Living Dead, and 45 Grave was on that soundtrack, and TSOL was on that soundtrack.
Yep. Party time.
Bands that were coming out, so I discovered Christian Death, their early works, and Alien Sex Fiend, and like some of these subculture bands that were all dark, not metal. So it was totally different, and they kind of had they had some of that punk. No, regardless of the other aspects of it, they had some of that punk in some of their records. So it just kind of, I discovered all of these different bands, and that they were all dark.
Yeah.
What drew me in with punk, then there was this offshoot of it. And so I discovered, kind of all these other bands. And so I've always been into, just this darker stuff. I mean, listen, man, I love a good pop song. I do. Yeah. People would laugh at, I'm like, dude, I know, but it's a great song.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we were talking about Prince, who does.
Prince was an amazing songwriter, like, and a performer that I would, if I could play like that dude, was able to move and sing and perform and do all of that all at once. I don't think people understand how difficult that is. But we're talking about, darker stuff and influences. And then obviously I was influenced by all those different genres, from the metal to the death rock, into the gothic, the darker punk. And then, then I also, I discovered industrial. I'm at this club and Assimilate from Skinny Puppy comes on. And I'm like, oh, sonically, I'm just like, what the hell? Just, you know how it is, man. You hear something and it shakes you.
Yeah. You get
in an awesome way. And it's because it's just a different expression of something and it resonates with you. So there's just so much amazing music out there. But obviously, the darker stuff, we never set out. When I put Seraphim Shock together, the idea, I didn't ever say to anybody, hey, we're going to be this dark band. That's totally where I was at that point in my life. Am I the same guy that wrote that record 25 years ago? No, I'm not. And that's a good thing. But I'm proud of that record. And all our different releases, but those are influences, and as far as film and stuff, I was never really into the slasher stuff, but I am a huge fan of like well-written thrillers that have the supernatural paranormal bend. The Others.
Oh, okay.
Nice. That horror, it's not horror, but there's this ghost twist.
Yeah.
Original Poltergeist. I do think The Shining with Jack Nicholson and the first Halloween were fantastic films.
Yep.
The writing was fantastic.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that someone took an axe in the head.
Right. Well, something like the original Halloween, there's no blood. It's just, it plays on your fears. There's a psychology behind it, behind the original.
When you were like a kid and you were watching that, I believe I was 9 years old. I think it was like 1978. I believe I might be wrong on that, but I think it was a 78 release.
78.
Yeah. And it was like terrifying.
Yep.
Yeah. Now you look at it and it really, the vast majority of that movie was not graphic at all, but how it was presented to you was phenomenal. Right. I mean, it was scary as shit.
Very, very much so. For me, and it's still a go-to, is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's so visceral and brutal, but again, no gore. It's just how it's presented.
Right.
And people that have watched it, and I know they've watched it, they're like, oh my God, it's so bloody and everything. It's like, no, it isn't. It just makes you think that
that's when I get the like, that is where it's at, because it got inside of you.
Yeah.
It was the way it was shot and the way it was scripted and on it. So I think that horror needs to be, I think the success for me anyway, this is just a personal preference, is that it depends on how it's written.
Right. Very much so. Yeah. How it's written, how it's presented, it leaves, its mark on you, just like good music, it stays with you, resonates. For me, if it's a good horror movie, even on that first viewing, I don't like it or something, but I get nightmares or something. I always like, oh, there's something there. I got to revisit that.
Yeah. And when you watch a film and you still remember pivotal moments.
Yeah.
30 years later.
Right.
40 years later. I'm like, holy shit, it was that long ago.
It was for me too,
Yeah, but so
it still holds your attention. It's still omnipresent, in the national zeitgeist. It's never going to go away. That's the beauty of good art, is enriching people's lives in such a way.
Yeah, and the original Poltergeist, it's funny too, because it's always like, it's one thing to watch it now, because your life experience and you've been subjected to so much more over the time, but it's relative to like, I think the importance is like looking at it like when it came out, and how it came off before you knew any of this other stuff.
Right.
And that twist of the paranormal, like what the hell is going on? And they put these people's home over this burial ground.
Right.
It's easy to be like, oh yeah, this is cheesy or like whatever, but it's like, man, I loved the original Poltergeist.
That is
the first record. I'm sure that wasn't legal, but whatever.
I remember that. What's happening?
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Beginning of God of this world.
Right.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got some more people chiming in here. So some old friends of yours, looks like. What's up, Death Rock Chuck?
What's up, B? How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, old school up in this pitch. Known you since high school.
Yeah, we got everybody. We got some people from way back. Very cool. And that's the cool, like I was saying, like that's the cool thing about this point in my life.
Right.
Because you have so much history with people and you have so many shows and the various travels and connecting with people off stage and having real life conversations.
Yeah.
Not just awesome. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah. You've definitely continued to touch people in a meaningful way. They keep coming out and you keep building your audience too over, Yeah.
Yeah, and that. Thank you. I just saw that comment come up. That is something that's really important to me, and that I'm proud of right now. I actually was just having this conversation the other day because if you looked at Seraphim Shock 25 years ago, you would have been like, okay, well, it's this goth band that. I know those guys when they first started playing in Denver, yada, yada, yada. Well, 25 years later, when I look at our streaming and I look at, it's very clear with our first two shows back in Atlanta and Denver, that we're not at all our supporters, our followers, our people who are coming out. It's really diverse.
Cool.
And I'm not just saying that. It's extremely diverse and it's awesome because we definitely are not a band that is dependent upon a scene per se.
Right.
Great people from all these different walks of lives that, they might be a part of this scene or a part of that scene or whatever, what we refer to as a scene. But Seraphim Shock is definitely not a band that is a scene band.
Yeah.
Our listenership and the people that come out and actually support these shows are really like, they're from all over the place.
That's great.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I don't mess with scene politics and he said, she said, and like, man, I'm just writing songs, dude.
Right.
I get out and do shows and connect with people.
Right.
And it is that simple.
Yeah. That's the beauty of good songwriting, good music it transcends, Yeah. And if you're able to really connect on with the human condition, everybody's going to be able to, really plug into that because they're experiencing the similar things.
Right. Right. You have that connection.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
In an interview when I was in Denver with Tom Murphy.
Yeah. Tom's awesome. I love him.
Talking to him at one point about that about, in an age where people are pulled apart so easily, and there's so much, people are so combative and stuff. The thing is if you sit down and you actually speak to somebody, and you actually talk to your neighbor, and you actually talk to somebody, and you might differ in how you think things and how we need to get there.
Right.
But you're going to find that you have more in common with people than not.
Yep.
Y'all want the same. You might disagree on how we need to get there, but we all want a lot of the same things. Not always, but you know what I'm saying? I know that's a general statement, but you understand the point. Is that like?
Oh yeah. It ends up being, pretty much just the same things. I think it's just more of a differential on what kind of cheese to put on your pizza. I'm a Parmesan guy.
Right. I love it, dude.
Man, oh wow, you got another nice comment that just came in. You guys were amazing
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, hope to catch you guys sometime soon. Husband
and wife, fitness couple, love you guys.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, super cool.
Nice. So we've just got a few more minutes, but really quick, you got some new music coming out. Of course, everybody on here, if you're just discovering Seraphim Shock now, definitely go to the website. It's scrolling at the bottom. But Charles, when can we see you back out in Denver again?
Plans? I'm sure we'll do a big show in 2023.
Cool.
I have no doubt. We plan, it's hard to say because it's such a weird market right now with, let's be real. Okay. I just talk real stuff with people. Most tours are not doing well right now. They're not. I just saw a post a few weeks back from Daniel Graves from Aesthetic Perfection that was just such a great post because it was just him just being real. Mm-hmm. A lot of artists want to cover up and say they like, which is why I'm so appreciative, man. These first two shows back, fantastic events. But most tours are not doing well. They're just, the sales are way down. And even for bands who are like, much, much bigger than me. I'm not talking about pop arena kind of shows. This isn't like, we're talking about the rest of us.
Right.
And tours just aren't doing well in general. They're very hit and miss, and the markets are up and down. And so it's expensive to tour. But I'm quite sure that we're going to answer your question, we'll be back in Denver in 2023.
Cool.
The show 2 weeks ago was fantastic. It was a great turnout. The crowd was awesome. I couldn't have, the thing is, and I spoke to people about this, and I made a couple of posts, and I didn't talk about it beforehand because I got the flu 10 days before the show. Ooh. And I was sick as shit.
Yeah.
I expect a lot from myself physically, to go out there. 4 days from the show, I could get through half the set. Like, yeah, I was just like, oh, I can't even believe this is going on. I don't get very often. And we were able to, my voice held. I just was able to get, right time. But I want to come back and be 100% physically. It was a great event. Don't get me wrong. No complaints. You guys were so awesome, but we'll be back. We'll be back in 2023. I don't know. Is that going to be next fall? Is it going to be in the spring? I don't know. Right. But I'm fired up because these first two shows back were awesome.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Well, and you've got a couple shows booked, in other cities, right?
Well, I'm in talks with a number of promoters. I'm going to take the holidays off. Yeah. Got a couple of things I need to deal with. And we'll start firing back up in the spring.
Sweet.
So whether it's one-offs or it's small clusters of shows, or it's a full-blown national tour. You know, we might have something too where we end up tagging up with some other bands.
Cool.
That could happen. You know, you become friends with people, and like, you know, I have so many friends that are just a hi buddy. So
Oh, yeah, your assistant there?
If is just he just came up and put his head on my lap. He's like, yeah,
Oh.
part of this. He's like, going on tour. So yeah, you know, that could happen too. You know, just being friends with other bands that you really, you know, you really dig their stuff too, and we might team up and put a tour together versus just Seraphim Shock. It's tough when you go out by yourself, and I've done a lot of those tours where it was just Seraphim.
Yeah.
There's some great tours that, you know, we toured with Hellfire Club and some other great bands over the years that are, you know, good friends of mine. But we'll see. But we're going to be back on stage. That's for sure. Man, I walked off stage the other night and I was just like, dude, we're not taking a long layoff here.
Yeah.
This isn't like, oh, we'll see you guys in another 4 or 5 years for some other anniversary bullshit. Like, no, we'll be back playing.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll see you guys in a few weeks for the barbecue.
Yeah, something like that. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, Charles, I want to say, you know, thanks for being so generous with your time and coming on and you know, chatting with me and allowing me to get to know and learn more of all the cool things that you put out into the world.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you, dude. I really appreciate you having me on and just talking. I love these kind of interviews are awesome.
Yeah.
These are this, and I think too that's a part of, like, you know, when you're at a point in your career when you've been doing it a long time, your conversation is bigger too.
Yeah.
It's not just typical like, oh, well, so and so played on this song, and like, you know, it's like this is real life conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate you. Stick around for a few minutes while we sign off. But yeah, again, thanks so much, Charles.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one, brother.
Cool. And to everybody that tuned in, thanks for tuning in. And of course, I got to acknowledge our sponsors, Mutiny Information Cafe. If you're going to start a revolution, make sure you're caffeinated. And of course, our friends at Hellfire Entertainment, thanks for rebroadcasting our show, and Groovy TV, and of course, Alien Donut Films, Bill and Angela over there. Thanks so much for your support. And my producers, Stefan Santa Cruz and Amanda Armstrong, and to everybody that tuned in, be good, be kind, help each other out during these tough times, and stay spooky. Have a good one, everybody. We will see you later.